Just make sure you sit up straighter or lower your camera, whichever one you're going to do. Doesn't matter to me. Well, it kind of does
Let's
matter
see
to
if
me.
my back allows for this long.
I mean, you just have to go like this. Meep. Then you can slouch as much as you want. Alright, we have an excellent connection because my internet works now. And we're live. What's up out there to our viewership? We are streaming.
Are we streaming?
We're streaming.
Okay. I should probably refresh my page then so I can see it. Why can't I see it?
I don't know.
What's up? I see it.
All I see is Wheezy Waiter. Come on. There we go. Okay.
Hey! Grant from Dad Crafting is here. What's up, bud? How are you doing tonight? We're just now getting set up. We'll start here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's that weird quiet before we start talking nonstop for an hour.
Yeah,
I know.
we've pretty much been talking already for half an hour. And then when we start streaming, we're like, bloop. Always
No,
happens.
we've been a little more quiet tonight, though.
That's our MO. That's how we do it. What should the intro be?
Multiverse of sadness.
You got something, Donovan? Go for it if you want. It's up to you.
I think I got something.
Actually, I have the wrong theme up, don't I?
The
just
cute
realized
Lego
that.
theme.
Yeah, I just realized based on what we're doing, I used to customize that a little more. That's alright.
Did you have a preset Marvel one already?
Do you have one you can throw on there real quick?
I mean, I guess.
For anybody in the audience, what Marvel character would each of us be?
No, I don't have something like that.
What Marvel character would each of us be?
I'd rather put it on the audience than have us be biased and pick for ourselves or even each other. We'll have the audience apply it to us.
We should bring that up in the podcast tonight so we can find out responses, because that would be interesting to see if we were to be cast as a Marvel character, who would we be?
We need a little more audience participation for that.
Maybe it's a survey time. Or Photoshop challenge.
That'd be a good follow-up for this episode then.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I'm looking for something. I can't really find anything that's that good.
I need to do gravelly voice.
Uh, just some last minute alterations here, and then I'll be ready.
This is how we do it.
Some more clicks. Clickety click, click, click.
Our time remembering who belongs to what group. Yeah, there's tons of heroes and superheroes now with their own affiliations. It's kind of hard to keep them all straight. Have you guys watched the Boys at all on Amazon?
Yeah, I don't care for it.
I think I tried watching the first season and I was like,
I like it, but it is brutal.
I mean, I read the comics, which
The Boys were a comic?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. The main character in the comics was modeled after Simon Pegg. And so
Even though in the show Simon Pegg plays a dad?
yeah, so that's the cameo, is that Simon Pegg plays the dad in the TV show.
Got it.
Because I don't know if he was supposed to be, what's his name? Jamie? No. What's the main character's name?
Let's just say Jamie, because I don't remember either.
Okay, the main character. I don't know if he was supposed to play that character in a live adaptation, or if the creator of the comic book just really likes Simon Pegg.
Right.
But
yeah, Richmond Drivett said he likes the show as well. Yeah, I'm only like 3 episodes in, so I don't know where it's going yet. Very adult, very interesting, brutal.
this is season 3.
Season 3 is coming out soon. You know what's interesting is that when I watch The Boys, I think about the show Invincible as well, that comic.
Uh-huh.
But for some reason, Invincible bothers me more than The Boys does. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't know why.
Because I've seen the trailers for season 3, so I have a pretty good idea of what's going on in the show.
So I just have all these questions of, well, it doesn't really matter, but it seems like a strange universe in some ways, but interesting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Perfect.
That works. A little janky, but
If it was a Lego Doctor Strange, it'd be perfect.
oh, yeah.
Oh, that'll work.
Is there a Lego Doctor? There's probably
Yeah,
a
Grant
Lego
has
Doctor
one.
Strange. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I see him. Let's see. Let's use.
Donovan, you got something for the opening?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the only thing that came to mind for me was like something really kind of wrong sounding.
Well, I was just gonna do. Things just got out of hand. So
There
we're
you
gonna
go.
talk about it on the Making Use podcast.
Perfect.
That's much better and more family friendly than what I had planned.
Okay. I need to listen to that. How did he do his voice? Things just. It's not raspy like Batman, but
It's almost out of breath in a way.
Things just got out of hand.
we disappeared. Oh, there we are. Okay.
We'll have to put a disclaimer up front pretty quickly too after the intro.
Yep.
I'm assuming that there might be a good number of people that have not quite seen it yet.
So things just got out of hand. So we're gonna talk about spoil it. We're gonna talk about. So we're gonna spoil it, or we're gonna. How should I say that?
Things just got out of hand, like the writer's room on this movie.
Every new Marvel movie, it's like my wife is like, I swear they have like 6-year-olds in the room just coming out, just throwing out ideas, and the writers are like, okay, and then what? And then
I think they're gonna start borrowing writers from the Fast and the Furious.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is perfect. Lego Doctor Strange.
Cool.
All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? We're all
Yeah.
ready? We're all ready? Okay, let's do this. Things just got out of hand. So we're going to talk about it here on the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, families, and geeks on this special spoiler cast episode talking about
Of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Sadness. I mean, madness. Yes.
Doctor Strange mom.
Yes.
Doctor Strange mom. So I can assume by that colorful intro of what your feelings are for this movie, even without even talking about it yet, because we haven't had a chance to talk about this since we've all seen it, right?
Well, Donovan, you and I talked about it briefly, a couple small points, but yeah, we have not had a full conversation about this yet.
Okay, so this is new conversation for us, and this is new conversation for you. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it first before you listen to this episode, because we are going to talk about spoilers for Doctor Strange and, as Wes said, the Multiverse of Sadness. But before we do that, how are you doing, guys?
Too busy, as usual. It's like we're trying to play this game of how many contractors can we fit on our property and blocking the road in one day. All week we've had crazy stuff going on here. So we've got the back deck being completely replaced. I've mentioned it before, but it's still ongoing. We have a new patio being installed. We have a dude in our kitchen ripping soffits out, installing new lighting. We had the patio guys accidentally cut our internet line this morning. So then we had the Google Fiber internet contractor out within 30 minutes of me calling, actually, which was pretty dang impressive. Fixing the line temporarily until we get everything squared away. And then yesterday we had a Pottery Barn furniture delivery that was one day early. Luckily, in retrospect, it was a day early, because had that come today, it would have just been complete mayhem. We thought yesterday was mayhem, but and they came and installed. We got like a new bedroom set thing for my daughter. And apparently they're the experts, but they don't know how to put anything together because they did some stuff wrong, and I had to spend like an hour it's basically super expensive. What's that? What's the cheapest furniture? IKEA. It's super expensive IKEA furniture for no reason, and the people that they're supposed to install it for you set it up.
IKEA furniture, or
It's as if IKEA was expensive. It's Pottery Barn, which you think, yeah, okay, Pottery Barn's pretty good. No, it's basically IKEA furniture for the particular that we got. Okay, so it's kind of like a raised loft kind of bed. It's got like a bookcase, and it's got like a little desk that you can kind of tuck underneath the bed in a way. And so it has like a part that rolls out on little caster wheels, and part of the bookshelf that was part of this desk was installed opposite somehow, because the people that designed it allowed it. It was not an intentional design feature, but they designed it in a way where it could be assembled this way if an idiot did it, and that's apparently who did it. There was a bookcase that's basically the only way you can put books in it from while you're sitting at the desk is like under the desk. It's really weird. Yeah. Anyways, it took me like an hour to undo what they did. using like a little quarter, like a little hex wrench that you could only turn like 1/4 of a turn before you had to like fiddle and try to find it again. It was awful. My hands were cramping. Anyways, I got that done. And then yesterday also, I streamed on Twitch for the first time in like a year or something, an obnoxious amount of time. I resurrected an old Kerbal Space Program theme that I designed a couple years ago when I was in Wyoming. And it's super customized for Kerbal Space Program. And I forgot how much detail I put in this thing. Like I have like fonts that are like displayed. Like so when someone follows me on Twitch or does any sort of Twitch activity that normally has like an alert on the screen, I have a little display at the bottom of the overlay. The whole thing looks like it's from like a space station or like Kennedy Space Center. So there's like the different panels and warning signs with warning lights in the top left, and I have a little readout on the bottom that says the last Twitch activity or last Twitch notification. It shows up down there. So like Broken Antler Workshop or what have you followed you, and it will say that. But I had it customized where the text is like kind of distorted, so it looks like it's in perspective. So the different sides of the text are sort of flared out, and it's way fancier than it should have been. It took me way longer to get that working than it probably should have, but it looks awesome. Anytime anybody follows me, it's like a custom gift that I found of like a giant Kerbal like filling up the screen, planting a flag, and the flag normally said KSP or something on it, but I actually went into Premiere and basically rotoscoped out the flag and put like thanks for the follow, and it's like distorting and stuff following the flag movement. It's way too complicated for like a 5-second gift, but it's awesome. It's awesome. And when someone subscribes, there's a great video of a dog floating around in a space station, and it looks completely like janky, compositing, but he's like floating around and stuff. It's like super cute, and I mixed in like an audio of an actual astronaut talking to another astronaut. Sorry, someone at Kennedy Space Center talking to an astronaut on a space, walk or what have you, and his name happened to be Steve. So the controller's like, "We've got a good picture of Steve here, coming in loud and clear." Something like it's like the dog is Steve. It's just super weird and silly, and people seem to really like it. And I had more subscribers yesterday in one session than I've ever had, which is pretty awesome. So I'm gonna try to get a regular schedule and do that more often because I had a lot of fun with that. And I'm just basically starting a new career in Kerbal Space Program. So if you're interested in the game and wanted to sort of see it from like the ground up, so to speak, and see me climb through the tech tree and build a lot of weird things and actually have input onto what I'm building, then join in. There's some fun stuff. You can spend in Twitch stream currency to tell me to use things or not to use things to make it easier or harder on myself as like a little additional kind of tweak or like audience participation kind of activity. It's kind of neat. So that's my plug for my Twitch stream, which you guys should check out.
Overkill is underrated.
It is, especially when you're designing spacecraft.
It looks like so much fun. I want to install it and start playing it.
More boosters, man. Always more boosters. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. What have you guys been doing?
So this past week, I have been in Colorado, in Westminster, Colorado, at the base of the Rocky Mountains, like literally right outside my window. It was glorious. But I went down to the SketchUp headquarters and have been spending the last week with my SketchUp team, just coming up with videos for an event in Canada we have coming up in September. Relearning the program. SketchUp just released SketchUp for iPad, and so I got an iPad and have been practicing designing my house in SketchUp on the iPad, and it's been great. I had an amazing time in Colorado, not only because this company that I work for, they really undersold the job that I was going to be doing.
You said that last time. Tell us.
I know, because it's like Aaron and Tyson, during the interview process and right before I got hired, they're like, I don't know if you're going to like this. Like, I don't know if you're going to like this. Like, you're going to be bored. The work is going to be monotonous. You're not going to have any fun, all that other kind of stuff. And so that's what I was expecting. And I go, and it has been nothing but fun Since I have been there, it has been fantastic. Part of that is because I'm bringing my own sensibilities to this position and to the work. So the first four videos that I edited for them were hype videos for speakers that are going to be at this international event. And they're like, wow, that's a lot funner than videos we've had in the past. I'm like, you're welcome. But it's been really cool. For the past 8 years, I've been working in the oil field industry with a bunch of roughnecks, and the culture and the camaraderie is very different. And since I'm not a roughneck, I didn't really get along with anybody that I worked with. I was always like kind of outcast and secluded. I was literally the office at the end of a dark hall. Partly because I was IT, but I mean it was literal and metaphorical at the same time, because of the work I was doing and because of the people that I was doing with. Whereas this company, for one, came from Google, and so that the whole concept of like an open workspace and collaboration, and they practice the Swedish concept of having a cup of coffee and shooting the poop. Hanging out, this is just having fun.
Because you're trying to be like PC, so I was really confused for a second. I'm like, Sweden does what now? Like, I did not understand what you're talking about. I get it now.
What I'm trying to say,
but
right?
it sounds way worse the way you just said it.
But shooting the poop.
What's a better way to say that?
That sounds way worse than the common phrase.
Anyways, they have definitely over-delivered in this job. I've never had such a fun time, like being in an office and like working together with people on a project than I had this past week. On Wednesday, we did this international webinar that we streamed on Skype or Zoom, I think it was, and we had to pay for like 10,000 places for people to log into this webinar and watched it. We did everything live, all the transitions. I was running the camera on a gimbal around while people within the company were talking about SketchUp for iPad and all of the features and everything and whatnot. And I had earpieces in for the guy on the switchboard, so we know when to switch back and forth. It was really fun. They've definitely undersold it and over-delivered. I had a great time. Admittedly, it was a little bit hard coming back home. For one, because I was just in Colorado where I could stand outside in the sun and not burn, which was great. But over the weekend, my wife came down. We went to the Garden of the Gods and hiked the Garden of the Gods. So we went up to Pikes Peak, which is 14,000 feet. It was.
Did you take the Cog Railway?
No, it was all sold out because tourist season. But we drove up, which was just cool. As nice because we could stop at all the lookout points.
Nice.
And hike around the lookout points. Which once we got to the peak, we started hiking around the peak, and it's 14,000 feet. There's not a lot of air up there.
Did you get lightheaded?
Well, I didn't. It was hard to breathe. I was going up the steps. I was like, okay, I can do this.
I saw people almost like passing out up there and throwing up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to chug water like crazy because your body's like processing all it. And it's funny, like I just got done with my physiology class last week, and the last section of the class I was taking was all about the respiratory system, and we were learning about the high altitude sickness in my class. And then right after my class is done, I go up to Pikes Peak at high altitude. I'm like, hey, I know what's exactly going on inside your lungs right now. This is fantastic. But I had a great time. I'm glad to be back home with my family and everything. But it was fantastic. What about you, Sean? What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. I'm just kind of waiting out for the school year to finish. Just kind of chilling at the moment. Hopefully I'll have something more exciting next week.
I'll be waiting for it.
Really quick though about SketchUp. I don't know why, but I was kind of in the impression that, and maybe this is still the case, but that SketchUp was a fairly small company or really small company. But from what you're talking about, it makes it seem like it's a pretty good sized company. Is that true?
It used to be a small company when SketchUp was bought by Trimble
Mhm.
from Google.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Trimble before I started working for them. They do a lot with like GPS, agriculture, architecture, engineering.
Okay, so it feels that way more because the parent company.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
But when Trimble bought SketchUp from Google, I think there was like 30 employees at SketchUp. Now there's over 200. One of the things that we did while I was there is they held this employee celebration because we're now $100 million a year company
Mhm.
at SketchUp, and they have like 1,000 job postings right now within the company. And so for anybody listening that has interest in working for SketchUp, we are hiring a lot of people. And so let me know if
Are,
you're interested. I can put in a referral for you.
are you able to talk about what the need is for all those people? I mean, what are they trying to scale up to that they need?
Well, it's just scale.
Okay, just scale. Okay.
With because SketchUp has 11 different programs within its umbrella. Because you have SketchUp for web, SketchUp for schools, SketchUp for iPad, SketchUp for VR, SketchUp. I mean, there's all of these different programs that are under the same SketchUp umbrella. But it's like coding, programming, engineering, sales, advertisement.
Pretty much everything.
Advertising, not advertisement. It's advertising, but pretty much everything. Like Aaron and there only used to be like two within the video content division, which is weird to say, but within the video content division, there only used to be two people, and now there's an entire team, and so we're growing pretty fast. We need people.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, should we start talking about some Strange?
We should.
Yeah, because we don't have a better segue.
Nope.
For that. No. So, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Ready? Go.
I actually tried to. When I went in there, I went watching it with my family, with my wife and two kids. My son was super excited to see it, and I tried to make a concerted effort to take off like the critic nerd hat and put on like the popcorn like summer movie hat, and actually I had a lot of fun. I tried not to think about the weird ramifications of things and a lot of the issues I had later on in like retrospectively. But during the movie itself, I thought it was a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed it. There were definitely things that I would have preferred happen, and a lot of them were kind of tropes that existed in other Sam Raimi type, Marvel kind of movies that were not as interesting as I hoped them to be. But overall, I gave it a B or something like that. It was fine. I liked it better than Eternals, not as much as.
It's a pretty low bar.
It's yeah. I mean, yeah. In recent memory, I'm saying, I like Shang-Chi better. I didn't like it as much as the first Doctor Strange. It was cool. I mean, it definitely had some great graphics, good animation, and I thought that the standout was Wanda. Personally, I thought she stole the whole movie. And anytime she was like on screen, she was pretty terrifying. And actually, Samantha, who I thought she was my daughter, I thought she was freaking out about like the zombies because I kept looking over at them, during different sequences of the movie. And when it got to the super like undead stuff, I was looking over and she looked really concerned on her face. But afterwards, I'm like, hey, were you okay? Or did you do all right during that part? She's like, yeah, Wanda was so scary. I'm like, what do you mean? And she thought that she was way more terrifying than the zombies were, like, more intimidating. And I would agree. I thought it was kind of fun when she was just mowing through people, even though she was way powered down compared to other iterations of her in other media, where she can just say something and it eradicates all of, it's basically like a Thanos snap, but stronger. But I thought they did a fun job of like teaming up heroes against other heroes. I always think of like when you're playing with your little action figures, like, oh yeah, you think Superman could take on Thor? Da, da, da. Like it's always fun to like have the battles you never expect to be able to have, and it was neat to see her go up against the more powerful lineup of cameos, which a lot of them they were all pretty much wasted cameos, but I like to see them nonetheless. They were fun. I like Captain Carter because of the What If series. I like seeing her in the outfit. I hope that's not the last time. I thought she, at least in the What If series, was really good. It's one of my favorite ones. It was great to see Professor X again, especially with the animated X-Men movie music. That was really cool. Actually, I got chills when I heard that like little soundtrack thing going. I'm like, oh, that's awesome! And I know it's all nostalgia bait, whatever. It's fine. Like, what movie isn't that nowadays? Yeah, what movie isn't that anymore? I'm okay with it. It could be done a little bit better, more respectfully, and have more like substance to it. But they had to pack a lot of crap in that movie, and I guess it's fine. That's my little summary. I've got other things to say about it, but I want to hear what you guys' little 5-minute elevator speech is for it. Sean?
Overall, I liked it. I'd probably also give it a B. There was a certain point in the whole lead up into the release of the movie and the ad campaign that I watched. I told myself I'd watch like the first official trailer, and then tried to cut myself off from all other conversation about the film. But the problem is that there are so many channels that come into my feed that just talk about rumors, and some of those rumors start to fester, and they start becoming expectation. At least for me, and it slightly altered my liking of the film because I wanted one of those things to be true.
Okay, get specific, please, because I'm curious.
I really wanted to see the superior Iron Man, and I wanted to see Tom Cruise in the role. I thought it would be interesting. Not that I want a full movie with him in that role, but that as a cameo that is very unlikely would have been interesting. And there was a hint to that existing in that universe. So I mean that very well could be the case, but they just chose. It's one of those things where it happens off screen, but they choose not to show the audience. One of the situations, possibly. And there's enough evidence in the Illuminati scene that to suggest that would possibly be the case.
Are you talking about the empty seat in the chamber?
Yeah, but also the Ultron robots. So, so overall, I liked it. I'll be honest in saying that I don't think the film was pushed far enough in terms of.
Yeah, it wasn't strange enough. I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't strange enough. It wasn't mad enough.
It wasn't madness. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One brief scene of like shooting through these different multiverses, which is great, which was awesome. I loved it. But that was it. I was really expecting something a little bit more mind-bending.
Yep.
But once again, I think that's a result of early talk and discussion about the movie that was building up this expectation that it might have been impossible to ever really deliver on. And I'm not trying to be hypocritical of it. It just that's kind of what was built up before even seeing the film. I thought it was pretty good for what it was. I think it could have been pushed further, like I said.
You bring up a good point. Like even in What If, which is one of the more recent properties to introduce the concept of multiverses within the MCU, they had flippin', Frog Thor and Alligator Loki. Like there wasn't anything even remotely like similar to that. Like they had all these different variants of Loki, the crazier ones, that look completely different, acted completely different. This one, it's like you have every variant of Doctor Strange had like a different haircut, or the beard was slightly, or goatee was slightly different, and he talked a little bit different. Like it wasn't drastic enough to warrant madness. I mean, what is the madness? Is it just referring to Wanda going mad? Like, because it wasn't how the multiverse was portrayed. Like you were talking about. I would love to have seen a paint universe. Like they talked about it. That sounds cool. Show it to me.
Well, we saw it for half a second.
Yeah, they showed it for a microsecond.
In the animated version, like have some sort of What If tie-in or something besides just the Captain Carter just existing. Have something,
I have a couple other gripes too, but I'll save that for further on in the conversation.
Agreed. Yep.
Donovan?
All right. I want to play a game with you guys. You ready?
No. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to describe the plot of a movie, And now I want you to tell me what movie we're talking about. You ready? You ready?
Yes.
Okay. We find our protagonist waking up from a vivid dream. After recovering, he goes about his day being quippy with his friend before he suddenly finds himself being attacked by a henchman sent by someone he knows. And after the attack, a public bus is totally destroyed. After this call to adventure, we then learn that the antagonist of the movie, whose backstory and motivation is revealed in a grove of trees, it turns out that the antagonist has gotten their hands on a powerful object, which will make them indestructible and able to take on an entire army all by themselves. Our protagonist then has to travel to other lands while trying to figure out a way to defeat the antagonist, spending that time reminiscing about their past with their traveling companion. All of this tension builds up as the protagonist must face the decisions of their past before the final showdown. You with me so far? During the final battle, CG monsters almost overpower our antagonist, but fortunately, someone close to the antagonist realizes that they just need to believe in themselves. And by believing in themselves, they deal a critical blow during the fight. Our protagonist is able to use the power of the antagonist's powerful object. There's a lot of words in this, sorry. To turn the tide of the fight. Having realized the error of their ways, the antagonist sacrifices themselves, letting our protagonist save the world. What movie am I talking about?
I think you already told this to me, Donovan. So I'm going to say quiet.
No, well, he started off describing something that I said last week that I didn't tell Donovan.
You didn't?
But I have a sort of a parallel to what you were just talking. I'll reveal it later. You just described Shang-Chi.
No, I just described Multiverse of Madness. Because it's the same freaking movie. Oh my gosh. Beat for beat, I was like, it's the same movie. It's the same movie.
I'll describe
Change my mind. Change my mind. It is not the same movie as Shang-Chi.
No.
I'm ready.
Okay, I'll change your mind.
Let's talk about this. Okay.
Yes, you have a character that is portrayed as actually good, that gets corrupted by an outside force, outside of their control. That corruption leads them to do things that are outside their normal character boundaries. All right, throughout the course of the movie, by the end of it, they realize the error of their ways, and they finally overcome that external force to come to the realization that they're at the source of the problem, and they cause the whole structure that is the source of this problem to collapse in on themselves in like a self-sacrificial moment of a little bit of heroism. What character did I just describe?
Okay,
Donovan?
so Wes, you're the one that told me this.
Yes, Donovan. Come on, Donovan.
Okay,
And it was also a Sam Raimi movie. What character did I just describe?
You just described Doc Ock.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
It's the same movie. And we talked about the scene where they're like busting through the multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because I don't know if we would get into talking about this, but I feel like their entire CG budget was for that 2 minutes, and the rest of the 2 hour and 40 minutes of that movie did not have the CG budget. And oh my gosh, it pulled me out of that movie every time green screen or CG happened, because I'm like, this looks like a video game cutscene. How is it that this like behemoth of a company can have CG that's so bad? That's so bad.
I didn't quite feel that way.
Really?
No.
The monster
Oh
at the
my
beginning,
gosh.
I thought so, but after that, I didn't really notice.
Like, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's
When
pretty
that
much as bad
octopus-
as it's pretty much as bad as the She-Hulk trailer CG.
Okay, now
We'll save that.
is different.
We'll save that
That
for
is
later.
different. That is not on the same level. The She-Hulk one should almost be criminal,
Yeah.
but
We'll talk about that after.
we can
Yes.
later.
Yeah.
We'll table that.
But while I was in Colorado, my wife came down. We had an amazing weekend, and I put her in an airplane to go home, and I was kind of bummed out. So I'm like, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to go watch Doctor Strange. And so I went to the movie theater. I watched Doctor Strange, sat through till the end of the credits and all of the kind of stuff. And I sat there
And
for a
sobbed.
while. I sat there because I don't think I've ever deliberated on a movie so much at the end of it than I did at this one. And so I sat there until the cleaning crew came in and all that kind of stuff. And I finally got up and, threw my popcorn bag in the trash. And I walked out the door. And as I was walking to my car, I realized that I would be okay if I never watched another Marvel movie again. At the end of this movie, I was like, I would be okay just being done with all things Marvel. Because it's not that the movie was bad. Like you guys were saying, it was entertaining. Like it really was entertaining. But the substance is just, it's not there anymore. And
I got another one. Sorry, I just realized another one here.
Another like.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Super easy, barely inconvenience. Okay, so you have a villain that, oh no, they realized my children / child, they're not here anymore, so I must find them. Oh wait, there's a mirror universe. Oh, my other self has the children. I must steal said children at whatever cost to get back to them. What am I describing? There's a couple. We'll even call it a multiverse. I mean, is it the Spider-Verse? Wilson Fisk, that's his motivation in the cartoon.
Well,
he wants to get back
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse because
Yes.
you're talking. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
He wants to get back with his children, right? That's the basic plot of the villain. That's his motivation.
And using a power that can
power that can just rip
literally
apart
destroy
everything.
the multiverse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, if you watch Fringe, that's basically the underlying plot point to that too, where the main scientist Walter wants to get his son back or what have you. And he actually steals him because, spoiler alert, the main character is actually not from the right universe. He is from the multiverse that got stolen as a kid. So, sorry if I ruined that series for you. It's like 10 years old now.
It's like 10 years old.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically, it was like one of the first times I saw multiverse stuff, like not in a comic book, like in a real life. And it was really well done. I thought they did a good job, like live action wise. For a sci-fi, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, it was the same kind of plot point. It's like they want to get their kids back, no matter what. Like, come up with something different, please.
I think that's one of the things that may have bothered me the most about this movie is the fact that it feels like, okay, for one, it feels like Sam Raimi definitely directed parts of this movie. Not the whole movie, just parts. So that was one thing. The other is that it, like with a lot of things Marvel, it feels like that they saw some other movie and like, oh, that part's cool. Let's bring this in. That part's cool. Let's bring this in. That part's cool. Let's bring this in. Did they connect to each other? Did they impact each other? No. You could take out the Illuminati scene and nothing in that movie changes. Nothing in that movie changes. And there's no coherency anymore.
That's true.
Which is hard.
Mm-hmm.
The end credit, because it's Marvel, everything's about the end credits. The end credit of this thing, nobody knows who Clea is. What is the big reveal of having Clea at the end of Doctor Strange, like ripping open the multiverse and being like, "Come with me," and it doesn't mean anything.
They've done that same sort of thing though before. To be fair, in other ones.
I know.
They take an obscure one, like a lot of people didn't know who Thanos was when he showed up and did that little smirk thing that looked super weird. But yeah, it's...
Yeah, but at the very least, Thanos was the driving force behind the secondary storyline in all the movies.
Yeah, he was the through line behind the entire phase.
I don't understand this new phase. I don't at all. Maybe they just... And if you go back, I mean, the first couple of phases weren't perfect either. The entire thing that led up into the Infinity Saga wasn't perfect, but for some reason, it felt cohesive.
More cohesive. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And kind of it worked at the end. I don't feel anything here.
Yeah, with Agent Coulson being the thread between them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish either do stand alone, or do the connection that you've kind of trained us to kind of expect. I still feel like I'm being kind of like strung along, waiting for like the next morsel that I'm looking for, and it just isn't there. They talk about the multiverse, they do these different things, but they don't seem like they're affecting each other yet, and it's a little bit frustrating as a fan who wants to see this stuff happen. It's kind of, it seems like the unspoken thing that I'm buying in for, and they're not delivering.
The multiverse in and of itself is kind of a conundrum, because Loki kind of like changed everything about the multiverse. Because in Loki, we're taught that there's only one universe. And because of the events of Loki, which happened after everything else, like all of a sudden there's branches and alternate timelines and all that kind of stuff. But then we have Spider-Man, which the multiverse then brings people from the past into the same universe. But I'm like, they weren't there before, because the branches in the multiverse didn't happen until Loki. So it's so
Well, time
there's no...
they describe time as not being like linear or whatever in that, so it's not that much of a stretch to assume that those branches happen in different points in time, because time is like a constant. It's like a loop, right? So that
Well,
could pop up anywhere. I
don't
get what you're saying, but maybe that's the logic
don't
they're going.
don't confuse two different concepts though, because you could have one timeline with many branches, okay, but you have other parallel universes, which is the multiverse. So it's different. It's bridging across those different timelines, not really having to do with any branches from that one specific timeline.
It's in those that we find Husky Loki. Right?
Yes,
Yes.
indeed. I realized another thing. So they had the end credit scene for Doctor Strange 1, I believe, where Baron Mordo basically was like building himself up to be the next villain, right?
Yes.
That was a complete waste of time, because he didn't do anything. There was like, it wasn't even the same character technically in this movie. So is he to come back in the third one? Like, are we just going to see him again? Like, I don't know, because it's the same, like, it wasn't the same variant of the character from the first Doctor Strange movie. And so he still has a bone to pick with Doctor Strange that we know. And so it's just weird. It seems like a waste of, like a red herring, basically. Because in the trailers, they made it seem that he was mad at him for ripping open the space-time continuum, whatever, all his desecration of the universe, right?
I have a
he didn't do anything.
I have a feeling that the end of Doctor Strange 1 was written and happened before this whole new...
I'm sure. It feels just like the most recent Star Wars trilogy, where they, pass the baton off to another set of writers that don't look back to make sure things are connected, and then they pass it off, and they keep doing that, and there's no sense of continuity. Yeah.
What did you guys think of America Chavez?
I thought she was pretty cool for the most part.
My daughter loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's appears to be so many different things being built up at once, with Young Avengers, Midnight Suns, the Illuminati, which, this is just one version of them. I have a feeling that the main 616 universe will be creating the Illuminati, or maybe Doctor Strange now in the 616 creates the Illuminati based on what he saw in this other universe, and has, how about, we get together all the leaders of these different groups, and the best and smartest. I don't know. In a small way, I think that makes sense. Although they didn't do a very good job in defending against Scarlet Witch, so I'm not sure.
Here's the smartest man in the universe about to do something really stupid.
Yep. But then I think Strange has the habit of making the same mistake, over and over again anyways. So I guess that's just par for the course. It'd be kind of interesting to see that Illuminati movie, though, like the biggest egos in the room.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, after the smirk that Black Bolt had on his face, he deserved that. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But as far as America Chavez goes, I liked her, but of course there's no character development. Other than, my parents got, are gone, I can't find them, and I've been looking for them. I mean, it's really paper thin as a character, but I imagine that it'll be built up in a Disney Plus series at some point.
And really, there's a little character development for Doctor Strange, too. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, he is.
It's pretty shallow.
He did not seem that
He
interesting.
just learns that every iteration of himself throughout all the multiverses he doesn't get with Christine, and that he's like an egotistical asshole, basically.
But I think that might be the one character development thing is having a better self-awareness.
Yeah, but that's so
and acceptance.
slight. And
It is. You
have to like dig to get that.
Yeah.
And
but in terms of his character, maybe
yeah,
maybe that is a kind of a big thing.
One thing though, I thought for sure that they would do, and I'm surprised they didn't, was have him pair up with, he's a loose end that doesn't have a Christine, and the other Christine didn't have a Doctor Strange. I thought for sure there was going to be something there, and they alluded to it, but I was surprised that I guess they have to have Clea do something. I thought for sure those loose ends were going to get together, but she's like, no, an incursion will be created, which they didn't even describe what that is. Okay, sure.
They did a little bit, but the problem is that there are so many different times within the different Marvel movies where an incursion should have happened and didn't.
Yeah. I wanted to like her. The way she was introduced was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But she wasn't a character. She was a plot point, which seems like, I don't know. It's kind of sad.
She might as well have been an object.
Yeah, she was her own MacGuffin. It's like, oh, I don't know how to control my powers, but we conveniently go to the one universe where we have the thing that can destroy the bad guy, the most powerful book in the universe, which ends up being the most fragile book in the universe because it just fizzles into dust in like 2 seconds, and you're like, why are we here? What?
Could you imagine trying to read the document that Marvel has, trying to keep all this straight, and where it all might possibly lead?
Well, I wonder about that sometimes because in the Star Wars universe within Disney, they have employees that I think they call them scholars, scholars of the Star Wars universe that are their job is to be in charge of the continuity of the entire Star Wars universe.
Yep.
And what is and what isn't lore, what is and isn't factual, all that kind of stuff. There's a whole division, there's a whole department that is their job. I wonder if they have that for Marvel, whether they have like scholars of the Marvel universe, where it's literally their job to decide and figure out like what is and what isn't lore, what is part of the multiverse and what's not, all that kind of stuff.
So I have a question for both of you, and I think this kind of affects how the Marvel movies are done. I didn't grow up reading any of these comics because I'd go to the comic book store and I'd seen all these different Spider-Man stories, and I pick up one and it's like the middle of the story.
Yep.
Okay, well, where did this one start? Where does it end? I don't know where it's placed in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to wrangle that from the source material and plug it into what they've already established sounds like an impossible task. I don't know if it can actually be done. So what they're doing, is this the best that can actually be done with where they have themselves right now and based on the source material? I don't know, but it's starting to kind of feel that way.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, they're trying...
not.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it's not for lack of ideas. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, they're trying to take like a very niche thing that can get super deep and intellectual, which I want it to, but then they dumb it down for like the least common denominator and have to like have tons of exposition and not realize that the audience is smart enough to figure things out. And then they end up like tripping over themselves with the logic that they set up through this exposition to explain, here's the way things are supposed to work. And then if you analyze it, even the slightest amount, it like breaks down under its own weight, basically, and just fizzles away like that good book did.
Yeah, and I think you just kind of made the point, Weston. I think it's been going on for a while, where when you try to make a movie or film for the largest audience possible,
mm-hmm.
it's a pretty big trade-off and sacrifice in terms of story.
Yeah, it's Big Bang Theory. That's what they did. The first season, very geeky, very niche. They're like, hey, we can have this spread out to all kinds of people, and then I'd lost interest. It was just a caricature of itself.
Yeah, unfortunately.
As someone who like did read comics when I was a kid, I look at what they're doing now and being like, okay, are they headed towards Secret Wars?
Yeah,
Mhm.
they are. That's been
It's in the
announced.
works, yeah.
But see, that
But-
bugs me too.
So
See, Secret Wars is like this big, huge thing, right? But then you have the multiverse stuff, and there's supposed to be like a multiversal war. Is that the same thing? Are they different? That sounds like a whole other.
Right, you're gonna have duplicates of characters like just in one timeline that aren't really who you thought they were, and then that's not
so
even.
it's like Civil War.
I mean, I'm wondering how much they're going to flip on us,
Mhm.
because that's kind of the speculation. The people they thought were the heroes for
Sure.
a really long time have been gone, or
Right.
I don't-
Yeah, they're gonna try to do some Back to the Future type stuff where like this whole time this has been a scroll, haha, and the real Captain America's been with inside of you this whole time, or
I can just
Yeah.
imagine the Marvel writers like in a corner, kind of rocking like this.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah.
yeah. What character have we not seen the body of when they die? Because in the cartoons or the comics, like when they die, that's when they revert to their scroll form, right?
Probably, I wouldn't
What
know.
character have we not seen the body of when they die?
Yeah, or disappear or something like that. So maybe that we can sort of surmise who might be a scroll, or they could just BS the logic of how they work in this universe, and that could be out the window. But I don't know. It's just weird. And then you had to it had to be a super scroll, from what I understand, to have the powers of said character. So they would only be able to emulate a human, unless they have super scrolls in the MCU. So then only the human characters, like the Black Widow, maybe she was actually a scroll the entire time. I don't know.
The scroll the whole time.
Yeah, because they would have to just be kind of like Maria Hill or Nick Fury, just being a normal person without any superpowers.
Which we've already seen evidence of at the end of
Right.
Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
Wait, was it
But-
Captain Marvel?
No, Spider-Man.
No,
Far
Spider-Man.
From
Yeah,
Home.
no, Far From Home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna still watch it. I'd rather have it than not have it. I think it's still fun, geeky escapism, and that's really the only reason I go see the stuff. Yeah, and it's fun to if there wasn't anything to talk about, we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
I know.
If
I just
you
have to
couldn't
kind
pick
of
it apart.
disengage my higher brain function
You do, yeah.
and bring it down to when I was like 13,
Hmm.
and I enjoy it a lot more.
I like try to view it through Grant's eyes. He doesn't pick up on all these intricacies, and he likes it for the presentation and what it looks. It's all flashy, and he still can follow along with the story, and he can kind of come up with his own plot points as to why things happen. Like he was able to describe all the stuff like before Infinity War conclusion. He knew all the different stones, where they got all the stones. Like it was awesome, and it was just kind of fun to see him geek out on that stuff. So let's continue it.
And maybe that's the true marker for whether or not these are good films. Maybe it's really not about us entirely. If you look at the average response of those different age groups now, we might be the first, and you guys, of course, will respond if you feel otherwise. I think we might be the first real generation as adults that have this really close connection with what the younger generation is into in terms of pop culture.
We're consuming the same things. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
As long as Spider-Man and Batman have been, or Superman and Batman have been along. I mean, they've been around since the 30s, so that could be said for a while. But I get what you're saying. And I agree.
It is true. I did
I don't-
not watch Ninja Turtles with my parents.
Yeah, but so the thing about Batman and Superman, yes, but I think the scale is different
Yeah,
now
they're
too.
outliers. Yeah.
And I think that in and of itself presents an interesting challenge because, as much as we're geeking out about this stuff, we're taking our kids to see these movies too,
Yep.
which means it has to appeal. Well,
Not this
I-
movie. Oh
um,
my gosh.
well, I
My
mean,
kids were
your
fine.
kids are slightly younger than mine still.
No, I know. But even I was like, this is really gory for a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was
yeah.
surprisingly gory.
When dude got impaled on the evil Doctor Strange got impaled. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, there's impaling, the
Head exploding. Yeah.
the head exploding. Captain Carter got torn in half by her own shield.
Yeah.
And not like the previous Marvel iterations where it's just and there's no blood or anything. No, there were blood entrails. Like it was It was gory for a Marvel movie. I mean, not like compared
Mr.
to.
Fantastic got spaghettified. Yeah, that was pretty.
So I was initially worried about the appropriateness for my kids, more not as much for my son, but more for my daughter. She's only 10, and I had asked Wes his opinion of it because I was most likely going to take her, but I wasn't 100% decided yet. And then Wes gave his kind of feedback and decided to take her. And my daughter's really kind of strange because if people are, was that?
She's kind of strange. We're talking about Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Definitely.
Dad joke. I dad joked you.
For some reason, well, actually not for some reason, I know why, but if people are getting killed, even like in a manner like this, it doesn't phase her one bit. But she sees one animal die.
Yep.
She'll lose it for hours. So yeah, she was fine.
If that animal is a enchanted one-eyed octopus, does it have the same effect?
No, because that's a monster.
Okay.
Oh, it's so cute. It's got a little doe eye. Oh my god.
That's a D&D creature.
Yeah. Oh.
So, Reed Richards. What did you think of John Krasinski as Reed Richards?
I
actually
enjoyed it.
didn't like it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. It was a fan casting, right? So.
Well, I mean, as far as that goes, yes. But as the actual pick,
Yeah, I don't care.
Steve Reed Richards going forward in the actual film, I didn't.
He doesn't portray himself as a genius, so yeah.
Yeah, you do have to kind of sell that a little bit.
You do, yeah.
Especially after this movie.
I don't think I realized how smart he's supposed to be until I heard another podcast that I listen to periodically do a review of this film, and they were talking about Reed Richards as a character and some things he does in the comic and how smart he's supposed to be. I did not know that because
Can you give some examples?
I can't remember.
Well, he's labeled as the smartest man in the universe. Like,
Yeah.
that's
I get
his
that, but I mean,
persona.
I can't remember the example. Crap, now I forgot what I was going to say.
sorry,
Sorry.
I derailed you.
No, it was a paper thin thought initially. Anyways, I was barely holding on to it.
Reed
Smartest
Richards,
Man.
smartest man.
Yeah. Well, because I didn't grow up reading any of the comic books. My only reference for Reed Richards is the two movies that came out. And I know that those probably, I mean, even though he's really brainy in those and he's smart, I don't think it does a good job signifying his real level of intelligence compared to most other people. I heard that because of the intelligence, he could even come off as a little like Asperger's type syndrome, like not antisocial, but having trouble socially. So I think, yeah, I don't think Krasinski pulls that off very well.
The whole Illuminati thing was hard for me because of how quickly they all just die. If it was a little bit, if they were able to like handle their own against Wanda, I think it would have sold me a little bit more.
Or work as a team.
All right, we're good. Let's attack her one at a time. But no, like in WandaVision, the whole Quicksilver thing, where you have WandaVision and then Quicksilver like shows up at the end of an episode and everybody freaks out because it's like, oh, it's the X-Men are coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There was so much hype, there was so much talk, there was so much things, and in the end, it was a boner joke. Like that entire plot line was for a boner joke. And you're like, that is a huge waste because you're banking everything on the hype of the thing and not the thing itself. And so coming into this, all of the hype around the Illuminati and Patrick Stewart coming back as Professor Xavier, and a minute and 30 seconds, he's got his neck snapped and he's dead.
It's like Mark Hamill tossing the lightsaber over his shoulder. It's exactly the same thing as that.
Yeah.
We're in an interesting new era with entertainment though. Because movies used to be just basically movies. You'd have a trailer, maybe you have some initial talk about it, but then you have the movie. But because of social media, because the entire industry built around trying to find secrets about the movie, predictions, and all those things, that Disney and Marvel or openly trolling the audience now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Specifically. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't hear anything about Mephisto.
I think Mephisto is long gone at this point. I think Kang is long gone at this point. I even think Adam is long gone at this point.
Well, Adam was already cast. I mean, Adam's in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
But we never know. They change things all the time, or they keep stuff from us all the time. And so it's like, I don't know.
It's their marketing strategy for getting butts in the seats to see if those things pay off. But I think that it's also critical to be careful doing things like that, because I think that more and more people are going to have a reaction like you, Donovan, where you might eventually see it, but you don't care as much anymore. It's not as urgent for you to go out and see it.
Now, granted, like, I am a member of this team. Like, we're going to talk about stuff, so obviously...
But I'm saying...
obviously going to go see...
Well, of course, but if it wasn't for this...
They're burning their bridges of their most loyal fan base,
Because if this is your only real motivation to see it within that main time, that's a failure on their part. Because of the track record they're currently establishing.
And having Everything Everywhere All at Once be in the theaters at the same time as Multiverse of Madness, I think was...
Have you seen that? I'm going to try to go see it.
It's rough.
Before it gets out of the theaters. Did you see that yet?
But everybody that I've heard see that movie says it's amazing. It is like the best representation of a multiverse movie they've ever seen. I was like, oh.
So in relationship to all this and what we've been talking about with the movie, and Marvel in general, I'm curious. What is the last so-called original story that you've seen that you can remember? Original enough that it did not feel like an immediate callback and recycling of something else.
Original story as in the story hasn't been told before, or
at least that it felt original. I know that it's nearly impossible based on number of storylines available, but at least felt somewhat original or fresh.
Man, Into the Spider-Verse was monumental, but that was a while ago. Recently, probably like
that's still recent enough to apply in my mind.
Okay, if that counts, I would say that's top of the list, obviously. But for me, like 1917, Green Knight, trying to think. Yeah, Spider-Verse would probably be at the top of my list in terms of like an original story. What about you, Wes?
I feel like I had an example of this in the last month that was a standout, but I cannot remember what it was now.
It wasn't that much of a standout.
I remember having that very thought of, wow, this is finally something original, but I can't remember what it was. Because I'm so programmed to think about MCU stuff by default. What are some in the last 6 months? There was something, I swear, that come out that I saw that I thought, wow. But I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I can't.
TV series or movie? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I'm trying to Google it right now.
And unfortunately, I can't even answer the question because one, nothing comes to mind. I mean, I'm kind of apt to agree with Spider-Verse a little bit, but because Spider-Man's already a pre-existing character with pre-existing tropes, the only thing original to me was the visual style in which it was presented. Is the only thing that really felt original to me.
Peter B. Parker didn't feel original to you?
No.
Really?
No. I don't know why he would. Just an age.
It's the only time we've ever seen a grown-up Spider-Man.
Yeah, but
like
see,
so far, we've now obviously seen grown-up Spider-Man.
In and of itself, I don't think that's really original to me. That's only specific to that one storyline or that one character.
I know, but like for the past 50 years, he's been in Arrested Development. Like he's never not been a high schooler with angst and like all this other kind of stuff. We've never seen.
I mean, so I'm not saying
Spider-Man.
I'm not saying I didn't like seeing it or I didn't appreciate it, but in terms of overall story, is kind of what I'm looking at. The visual style, yes, fresh, original. I think it was fantastic. I think there's still a lot further visuals can go to be interesting and original and fresh and feels new. But in terms of story, because I mean that was the main thing that we're talking about in contention. And I know that Domicile Artisan says that nothing's original anymore. Well, I agree, but things can feel fresh again, or feel kind of revitalized. And I feel like I consume so much content that I can't even keep like a mental note of everything I've seen. I started keeping a blog style journal. I'd have to go back and look through it and get back to you next week.
Yeah. Homework. This could be the start of homework.
Because you do so well at homework.
Yeah.
I will try to make good on that though. I thought Ghostbusters
I liked it.
I
It was
think
solid. You can nitpick it
I think
still, but it was
Ghostbusters is
solid.
close for me.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Ghostbusters is close for me.
So Stranger Things original.
The first season, yes.
Season one,
it was
yes.
derivative of a lot of other things, so it's kind of hard to, it's obviously
It was very
inspired by,
mise-en-scène. Yeah.
like, Goonies, E.T., all these things that they're intentional callbacks.
Which I don't think being similar to or
No.
even using the same type of storyline is bad,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't feel that way.
I thought it was, if you just talk about the first season of Stranger Things,
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very well done. And like we had you watch the entire run of it when you were here visiting,
That was so cool.
and it was, it was great to see your reaction. And it was the second time I had seen it myself.
So
and
are we
with the
gonna have to fly
music-
out to North Carolina next week for the start of season 4?
I think so.
Done and done.
Don't tease me.
Teasing myself.
There was a movie Moon. It was a sci-fi movie many years ago now.
Oh yeah.
I really love that one. It's not super recent. That came out, a while ago, but I thought that one was really well done. What was the one with Tom Cruise and John Krasinski's wife? They're the time traveling. It had like 4 different names in the theaters and in the
It was,
release.
And Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kept renaming
Live,
it for
Die,
some reason.
Repeat.
Yeah, I don't know why they
Uh,
did that. Yeah, exactly.
They
I
were
really
trying
like
to
that
find
one.
the right, SEO.
Yeah,
title.
exactly. That's what it felt like. They uploaded the video and changed the thumbnail and the title. You couldn't find it again.
It's funny. The one that you said about Tom Cruise, and the one that came to my mind was, I think it's called Oblivion.
Oblivion.
Yeah,
Yep, that's a
Oblivion.
good one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Another Tom Cruise one, strangely enough.
Yeah.
Joseph Krasinski, director, also
Eternal-
directed
Eternal
Top Gun
Sunshine.
Maverick.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. These are older, but these are like movies that stand out to me as being pretty. Vanilla Sky, actually, I thought was really good at the time.
Oh,
I
hated that
No?
movie.
hated that movie. That's funny, Donovan. You and I had the same reaction.
You guys groaned hard on that one, man.
I'm not saying that it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I did not like it. I think that more people when they talk about movies have to be able to distinguish the difference between those things.
Mm-hmm.
I can recognize something's a good movie. I just don't like it, possibly.
That's fair.
Like the English patient. or Citizen Kane.
Oh gosh, that's another one.
I don't like it, but I recognize that it is a good film in and of itself.
Not the best movie of all time. How dare you?
I don't like that anyways. Yeah.
That's enough of that.
So what are you guys geeking out about?
I am geeking out about season 3 of Love, Death, and Robots coming out to Netflix next week. Or this week.
That's the animated anthology series, right?
Yeah, it's like the series of animated vignettes that don't necessarily relate to each other. Almost seems a little bit like experimental animation. I've actually seen better animation in those shorts and pushing that genre and style forward more. I think it's amazing. Very adult, not for everybody. I understand, but I think I really like them.
Cool.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm geeking out about. How are you guys?
So I not to plug the company that I work for or anything.
I'm gonna plug the company I work for.
But the SketchUp for iPad, one of the features of it is that you can view your models in AR. And so we are getting a new washer and dryer. And so it's kind of like cars where, you know, they got a new pavement and all of a sudden they want to redo the town and fix up the shops and all that kind of stuff. Well, we want to redo our laundry room. Washroom. We want to redo our laundry room. And so what I did is I went into SketchUp and I redid our laundry room like my wife wanted. And I was getting her feedback and she's like, oh, I want this here and this here, you know, do this tall and all this other kind of stuff. Cause I was in Colorado. And so we were kind of remotely figuring out our new laundry room together as I was modeling it. And so I took this model and put it onto my iPad and opened up AR, and I set the anchor points for my model to the corners of my laundry room. And so I gave my wife the iPad, and she can literally walk into our laundry room and look around at the new design of this laundry room that I did in SketchUp, like to scale. She could see the height of everything. She could see like like how much distance is there going to be between the door frame and, you know, the side of this piece and whatnot. And it was amazing to be able to do that, to have something like in real life, like, you know, we're in our laundry room, but have this AR feature of literally to scale, being able to see, hey, this is exactly what it's going to look like from the top down, like look up, you know, this part is going to, you know, block this part over here. We're going to have to move the light or move a vent. And we could figure that all out before I even buy the material or make the first cut. And that is amazing. I am loving that feature. And so one of the things that I'm doing for the ARG that I'm putting together for our Canada event is to use augmented reality and models so that people can pull up the AR feature on their iPad or their phone or whatever and like walk through a house and find clues to treasure hunts in this house. And it's just the capabilities of that I think is so cool. And so I've been geeking out about that super hard.
That sounds amazing. In fact, I might need to work with you on something for teaching regarding some of that stuff for next year.
One of the things that we're going to do for this event is we're making a model of the whale from Pinocchio with its mouth open. And so you can walk into the whale in Pinocchio and see Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket on the raft inside of the whale, but you have to like walk into. It's so cool. So cool. Geeking out hard. What about you, Wes?
I have been enjoying Strange New Worlds, which is the new Star Trek series. It is more episodic, like the old school stuff. If you like Next Generation, Voyager, stuff before Discovery, it's almost like Monster of the Week kind of feel to it. Go ahead.
Wasn't he Black Bolt?
Yes, he was. Yep.
He was. I thought I recognized
Anson
him.
Mount, I think his name is. Yeah. The actor. So yeah, it's Strange New Worlds. The third episode came out today. I'm gonna go watch it after we stream here. But the first two episodes are pretty good. The first episode is free. If you don't have Paramount Plus, it's free on YouTube. They have the pilot episode on there. It's standalone. It's completely legitimate. It's on Paramount Plus's YouTube channel, I believe. And it's pretty good. I definitely would recommend checking it out if you like old school Star Trek. It's got a look and feel of it, and they actually have started introducing some things that are a little maybe canon breaking or stretching the capabilities. It's almost like when they introduced the older Luke Skywalker, they showed that he had force capabilities that we didn't know were force abilities in general. And the old school people are like, well, is that cool? And there's like this whole other discussion about that. So they did a similar thing with Warp. It's not really a spoiler. Well, it kind of is. I'm just going to say it anyways. If you don't want a spoiler for Strange New Worlds, just go ahead and stop now. Basically, they used a transporter, which is in Star Trek lore. You transport people to a planet, from a ship that's about to explode. They actually transported medicine into a person's veins on a planet, which they never did anything like that. To my knowledge, they never did anything like that before. Like
inside the body.
Yeah. It was like super easy, like barely any inconvenience. Yeah, so like old school plot line from like other series, they try to integrate into another species, so they have like masks on or some sort of prosthesis or temporary thing that, only lasts a certain amount of time, that they look like the alien culture they're supposed to be infiltrating, to not blow the cover for the Prime Directive or what have you. And then one character, this is adding the drama, right? Their stuff is starting to go haywire. And like, oh, let's give him another dose of this medicine that like alters his facial structure, and they use a transporter to do it. I'm like, what? That's new.
Their polyjuice potion is wearing off.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. That's basically what it was. But it was cool, and I don't know. I'm not sure what the fandom of Star Trek thought about that as a whole. I haven't researched it, but they're sort of still finding inventive ways to do new stuff with older technology, so to speak. But that's enough about that.
Well, you as a Star Trek fan, what do you think of it?
I thought it was cool. I don't really have a huge problem with it. Just because we never saw it before specifically doesn't mean it didn't exist, I guess. Unless someone explicitly says it doesn't exist. But you could also like take that logic and be like, well, because they were able to do this, they could have saved all these other people and all these other series. You can't think about it too much or else the whole thing falls apart. Unless by the end of this series there's a reason why it doesn't exist in further, explorations. Because this is supposed to be somewhat of a prequel series. So whatever they establish, you're like, well, okay. And yeah, for Discovery they did a lot of that stuff, but then they explained away why it didn't break canon, which is, I predicted like a year and a half out what they were going to do, and they totally did it. Just saying. But if you like Star Trek, give it a shot. Oh, and also the Orville. If you like the Orville, it's coming back for the third and possibly final season on Hulu. They have a trailer out for it. It looks awesome. It looks like old school Star Trek with some Seth MacFarlane humor mixed in, which I like. Took a little while to figure out the tone of it, but I enjoy that.
I've reached this point where it's like I'm like I need to start canceling some of my subscription services just to get other subscription services.
Yeah, you're trading.
Rotate them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to subscribe to all the subscription services, but it's a total what have you done for me lately? And if like I haven't watched Peacock TV in months, but I'm still paying for it. I'm like, oh, I need to like switch Peacock TV out with like Paramount Plus, and I need to change.
Yep.
And what's really messed up is Apple Plus, their original programming is really, really good.
I know that's another one.
It is some of the best consistent series I've ever seen as a collection.
Although with my new iPad, I get 3 months free of Apple Plus, so
I have it free with my phone plan.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I free permanently with my phone plan.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I'm not going to say it too loud because I don't want it to go away.
Yeah.
Another thing that I don't want to go away are our patrons over at patreon.com/MeganGeeks. We love their support of our show. We love engaging with them on our video game servers, on our Discord servers. We interact with them all the time. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't talk with at least one of them, and it's great. Including our top patrons, Jordan, Square Splinter, and Clinton. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support.
And we had an interesting conversation before this whole thing where we asked a question. If you were to cast us as a Marvel character, who would you cast us as? Who would Wes be? If you want to tell him who you think he would be within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, go and tell him at Geeksmithing. Who would Sean be? I would love to find out. And you can tell Sean who you think he would be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you could find him over at Geek Builders. And myself, who would I be within this expansive 6,000 different superheroes Marvel Cinematic Universe? I would love to hear that. So come and tell me at Once Upon a Workbench.
We might even put the poll up on our Instagram or Twitter too for a little bit more direct response. But if you'd like to give any suggestions for the show, topic ideas, you can do so on our contact page on our website, MakingGeeks.com, and on the homepage of the site. You can listen to all of our past episodes right there on your browser. And don't forget the shop where we have some Making Geeks themed merchandise for you to hopefully purchase and enjoy. I want to thank everybody for hanging out in the live chat with us. Always makes it a lot more enjoyable seeing that conversation going on while we're recording, and actually adds some interesting points to the show as we're going. And if you'd like to be part of that group, then you can do so every Thursday evening 9:30 Eastern and 6:30 Pacific, and I think 7:30 Central.
8:30. But
8:30. So it's 2 hours. Okay, I'll get it right one day.
that's all right.
You can find new episodes of the show every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. So from all of us to all of you,
Have a great
Have fun.
week.
Have a great
Go
week.
shoot the poop.
I was just about to say that.
You can shoot it. Just don't tell us about it.
Ugh. See ya.
That was